as I mentioned, the most common diagnosis at the time of discharge is the heart failure. At the same time, if I say the 5 years mortality is highest with the heart failure, and if you look at the mortality data of preserved ejection fraction heart failure or a reduced ejection fraction heart failure in an elderly population, age more than 60 years, 5-year survival is 50%, which is much less than majority of the cancer which are deadly. The most common cancer is the breast cancer, where the mortality is around 11%. Most deadliest cancer is a leukemia, where the mortality is around 43%. But if the patient has a heart failure, the mortality is 5 years is 50%. So one need to treat this disease aggressively because it carries a very high risk of the death. Now, is the heart failure is a static condition or is it a progressive condition? And this progressive condition, how it results in increasing in the mortality. So, sorry. If I show you this chart, the patient who is in the stable condition, let me take the help of the marker. Yes. So if I show you this chart, here the patient is in a stable condition. Once the patient deteriorate, the deterioration means patient has acutely decompensated. This decompensation could be because of arrhythmia superadded on the heart failure. Is it because of the new episode of ischemia? Is it because of some intercurrent illness in the form of some sepsis, renal failure, electrolyte disturbances, or a consumption of NSAID or a Unani medicine? So there is an acute decompensation. Patients require admission. After stabilization, he will come back. But when he come back, his physical capacity reduces as compared to what he was before the admission. And this decompensation keeps on continuing with the heart failure. And as the more and more repeated admission and repeated decompensation happen, patient is heading towards the end stage heart failure, and this end stage heart failure increases the cardiovascular mortality. So there is a progressive disease which is happening in the heart failure, and every decompensation patient keeps on deteriorating. The most importantly, in spite of standard of the care, 9 out of the 10 patients still remain symptomatic, because we usually, I have observed in our area, people are happy with digoxin and diuretics rather than disease modifying treatment. And so many of them are even not on standard of care. So in spite of treatment, majority of remain symptomatic. Those who look stable to you, those who are coming in the OPD and they are stable, they carry still the risk of 33% of cardiovascular death or need of hospitalization for the heart failure. So we cannot say that this particular group is a stable patient. 1/3 of the patient still can die. And we all know when the ejection fractions drop to less than 35%, there is always a risk of sudden cardiac death, and that is arrhythmic deaths, which keeps with these particular patients. And that group is very large. In spite, we found that they are OPD stable patients. And every admission, as I mentioned, their quality of life deteriorate and survival years deteriorate. So they go on to this spiral ladder, where after first admission, if you say that survival is 2.6 years, second admission 1.2 years, and keep on going down further and further, and patients ultimately results going in end stage heart failure and death.